Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. If this is your first time here, you get a special hello. My name is Jody, and if you enjoy this video, I would enjoy it if you would subscribe to the channel by hitting the big button with the word subscribe on it. Now, before you say it, I already know hate is a strong word, and normally I'm all smiles and laughter, preaching positivity and happiness. But there lurks within me a dark Jody that loves to properly skewer a watch or watch brand that truly deserves it. So today I'm letting Dark Jody out of the dungeon for the next 15 minutes. Today it's a roundup of the top 7 brands that people just love to hate. For various reasons, as will be discussed, there are certain brands that always seem to generate the ire of the watch community. The watches themselves aren't necessarily all awful, and each brand also has its fans, but these 7 seem to get more peanuts lobbed at them by the peanut gallery than any others. If your least favourite brand does not make the list today, be sure to leave me a comment and let me know what it is. Let's get on with it. The first brand on today's list is Invicta. Of course Invicta had to be here. My goodness, Invicta bashing should be an Olympic sport. It really should. There are so many Invicta memes on the internet and so many videos here on YouTube beating on Invicta, and there seem to be 2 main reasons for this. I'm going to show you examples that combine both of them perfectly. The first reason is their ridiculous and deeply cynical pricing strategy. This goes hand in glove with the brand appearing on numerous home shopping TV channels. Stupidly inflated RRPs allow them to offer watches at 90% off those RRPs. The second reason why people hate Invicta is because of the designs. Look, good design is very subjective, and of course you should wear exactly what you want to wear on your wrist. I will never tell you anything different. But I'm just going to throw a few Invictas at you here. Feel free to look away if you begin to feel nauseous. And surely there comes a point when you have to look at these designs and ask, what time is it? What is the actual time on the watch? With watches this big, surely they could have made them easier to read, but somehow that just wasn't their priority. And it's not just a handful of models that look like this, there are literally hundreds of them. Now, unlike a lot of other YouTubers, I have actually reviewed several Invictas on the channel and I have recommended them, but I must admit I have been very selective with the ones that I have chosen. So here we have the 2 reasons why people hate Invicta in a nutshell. The Invicta Speedway, featuring no less than 1.5 carats of genuine diamond dust and at a svelte and wrist-hugging 61mm. Note the movements: Japan quartz, China mechanical. 2 thumbs up there then. Note also the MSRP. That stands for Manufacturer's Suggested Retail Price in the top corner. That is $11,695 US. A bargain, I'm sure you'll all agree. But wait, when you actually go to try and buy it, you'll find that the price isn't 11 grand. Surprise, surprise. It's 2,599, but today only it's reduced to 799. A total saving of 93%. Fuck off, Invicta. Alright, at number 2 on the list, it's TAG Heuer, and I've got mixed feelings about this one. I recently made a video mercilessly mocking the $1,500 plastic reissue with Kith. I was not alone. But then again, I also ran a TAG as my daily for years and years very, very happily. And I personally enjoy the brand's long-time historical connection to Formula 1 motor racing, my favourite sport and a lifelong obsession. But there's an argument that TAG spends more on marketing than they do on their watches. A scenario that looks set to continue as they've just signed to replace Rolex as F1's title sponsor from next year onwards. Some of them, particularly the quartz models, also seem rather overpriced, with a 2,350 Aussie dollar watch containing a basic Ronda Swiss quartz 3-hand movement that cannot cost more than 50 Australian dollars to buy. Plus, tags don't always feel like luxury watches. Often a $3,000 tag feels like it has the same level of quality as you can get from another brand for around half of that price. And unlike a lot of the other big Swiss houses, they have used an awful lot of off-the-shelf movements over the years, sometimes claiming that they were 100% in-house when in fact they were not. Naughty tag. Plus, some of their advertising campaigns over the years have been perhaps just a tiny little bit obnoxious. Like I said, I am a little bit conflicted here. I don't hate tag, but I know a lot of people that do, and I can understand why they do. However, at number 3, this one is personal. It's a brand that I think is absolutely disgusting. I have never seen one single watch from this brand that I would wear if I was given it for free. And I'm a Scotsman. My favourite word is free. It's Richard Mille, or Richard Millie if you prefer. I mean, I honestly don't care what you call them. I call them disgusting. What's worse for me personally is, again, like tag, the brand sponsors a lot of motorsports, so I have to watch my heroes wearing these vile creations. I'm sure the technology and the manufacturing is amazing, but to me they just look disgusting. Disgusting, 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 and disgusting. And whereas Invictus do disgusting for $99, Richard Mille do disgusting for $60,000 and upwards. A long way upwards. This one, for example, cost $6 million. Utter madness. I will never be able to afford a Richard Mille, and you know what? I'm quite alright with that. At number 4, it's a brand that is close to my heart. Well, sort of. I have said publicly before that I would never buy one, and that was before a truly disastrous rebrand 4 months ago. It's Bremont. Bremont are a Swiss-made, British-owned brand that has been around for 20 years, but all of their watches, up until a few months ago at least, just looked like a much of a muchness to me. They don't have a truly iconic model in their lineup. And all of the marketing and all of their chosen ambassadors have this kind of outdoorsy hard man shtick to it that doesn't really do it for me anyway. What can I say? I'm not an outdoorsy hard man. And then a few months ago, in what is by all accounts a last roll of the dice for the rebrand, they rebranded. Well, they kept the name, they're still Bremont, but they changed their logo. And they started putting London on the dial of their watches, even though they've always been associated with Henley-on-Thames, which is not actually in London. And ever since then, there has been an absolute dog pile-on in the comment section of every one of their social media posts. People who did love Bremont now no longer love Bremont, and people who didn't love Bremont have seemingly even less reason to love Bremont than they ever did, which apparently wasn't very much to begin with. Time will tell whether the roll of the dice has been successful or not, but from reading these comments, I'm not sure that it will. Moving on from the last few big brands to a smaller brand that people love to hate. That brand is Filippo Loretti. Now, Filippo Loretti in some ways is representative of a crop of these fashion-forward brands like MVMT and Vincero that are advertised on Instagram and elsewhere as luxury brands. You know the deal, affordable luxury, cutting out the middleman, etc, etc. Now that is a marketing gambit that has become something that is in itself capable of being parodied. Last year, Ben Arthur of Ben's Watch Club launched his own meme watch brand, Spaghetti Scametti, which does have a rather familiar ring to it, does it not? Specifically to highlight what it is that these pseudo-luxury companies do. And what it is that they do is they present a smorgasbord of cynical business practices. For a start, they rip off the designs of big Swiss luxury brands. Now, I personally don't have a massive problem with that as long as the watches are priced appropriately. But these watches are straight up shitters with poor specifications for the money being asked. They try and convince you, a la Invicta, that the regular price is so much higher and you're getting up to 50% off, as well as cutting out the middleman and getting affordable luxury. And they fill their site with editorial recommendations which are undoubtedly paid for and user reviews which seem hyperbolic in the extreme. Unfortunately, once you scratch off the shiny surface, much like their cheaply manufactured watches, what you find is something quite different. A 2.6 star customer satisfaction rating rather than a 4.8-star customer satisfaction rating. Now, I have never reviewed a Filippo Loretti on this channel. They emailed me many years ago asking me to review their watches, and they sent me an influencer agreement to look over. And what do you know? They sought contractual approval of all content, and that I had to make changes and adjustments in line with their expectations before approval to publish was granted by them. I politely declined. And at number 5, it's Hublot. What can I say about Hublot? There are so many nasty but often hilarious memes about Hublot on the internet that Hublot themselves have almost become something of a meme within the watch community. They're kind of like an Invicta for people with much, much more money who want to spend it on something just as big and, in the eyes of many, just as obnoxious. Do you know, some of the simpler ones, the basic three-handers, I reckon I could probably cope with one of those. But unfortunately, simple three-handers are few and far between in the Hublot catalogue. Again, there's a lot of big, brash, in-your-face watches that seem to be far more about showing people how much money you have than actually, well, you know, telling the time. And it also seems that if you own an Hublot, it's almost obligatory to take photos of your watch in front of the steering wheel of your expensive car, which seems to be consistently a Porsche. Again, I am entirely reconciled with the prospect of lifelong Hublot non-ownership. And finally, regardless of what you thought about my first 6 choices, number 7 was deliberately chosen to bring us all back together again as one happy family, united in our collective hatred of Daniel Wellington. If Filippo Loretti were cutting out the middleman and offering luxury watches at a fraction of the cost, then Daniel Wellington are the middleman and are offering Alibaba watches for a massive markup. These are straight up $5 Alibaba catalogue being sold for hundreds of dollars. They are cheaply made. The vast majority of them feature the most basic quartz movements, mineral crystals that will scratch easily, thin leather straps, or worse still, the cheapest NATOs they can find. They were sold purely based on marketing and the fact that everybody wanted one because everybody wanted one and posted about it on Instagram. They are a bag of wind. They are the emperor's new clothes. When you look at them closely, there's actually nothing there at all. Thankfully though, it seems that they've had their day, with peak Daniel Wellington coming at around 2017. Having said that, at their peak, the company was selling 226 million US dollars of these shitters every year. It's true what they say, there's one born every minute, or in this case, several million of them. Hate is indeed a strong word, but in this case, it's fully justified and guilt-free. So there you have it, 7 watch brands that people just love to hate. Personally, I do despise a couple of them, as I'm sure you heard, but I'll admit I am conflicted about a couple of the others. Which brands do you despise and why? Leave me a comment. It's okay to allow the dark version of yourself out occasionally, just like I did. If you want to see more Dark Jody, check out 5 big brands I'll never buy, or 10 AliExpress brands with some of the worst names you can imagine. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you again in the next one.